watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 198, Converting a Document to a Java Object in XPages. Even documents like to dress up for an evening out. Okay, so this show is another one of the shows that came from this presentation I did at MWLUG. Everything in this presentation is already on GitHub, so you can download it there. If you don't know how to download it, there are shows, previous NotesIn9's cover, source control business. Now, most of the stuff that in the shows were talked about Bitbucket and not and use Mercurial and not GitHub. But you'd still use SourceTree, and I probably will do a show, sometime after a while on how to download this, from GitHub directly. And I'm new to Git itself, so I'm trying to use it. So I haven't actually done it myself yet. So I guess that'd be worthwhile to do. But using SourceTree from Atlassian, it should not be a huge challenge, I wouldn't think. So there you have that. Okay, so what this show is about, this is going to be more of a code walkthrough again than a pure demo, is using Java objects instead of documents directly. There's a lot of reasons you want to use objects instead of documents. One of the biggest ones is objects can be serializable where documents cannot. So that is just, you can keep them in memory without having to rebuild them. It's just better for the system, quite honestly. You can enhance your documents with that's spelled stupidly, additional functionality. And I do this all day long. So if I have a company document, I make a company object, and I might make my own method that says get contacts. So get all contacts for the company, for that particular company. So it's really powerful. It's the first step into really kind of making your own custom business API. Everyone uses the Notes Domino API, right? Get session, get database, get view and all that stuff. It's worked out pretty well. Now you can have your own for your own business logic and your business API, and that is a great way to live. Okay, so what are the key steps here? You instantiate the Java object. So you're going to create the object, and you can do this all in the constructor. I usually do it in 2 steps, which is probably not the best Java, but that's how I like to roll. But so you have a loader. So the first thing you do is after I instantiate the object, I call a load, and I pass in a key. Okay, but you can extend that. So I can pass in the different document or view entry or whatever. So it loads the values from the Domino document in this process. But then once it has all the values, it throws away the document, but not the value. So it saves those values, and now you've loaded your Java object. You've ingested that data, and then when you save it, you're going to the Java object will reload the actual Domino document, update any values, and then save the document, and then it discard. It doesn't care about the Domino document anymore. It's just been updated and saved. Now, what I'm going to show you kind of gets into this thing with this data object. So a lot of people like to extend data object, and I believe there's a great series from Tim Tripconi on NotesIn9 about that a while back, and I have to review it myself. I have not been a fan about extending data object, but after many arguments with Devin and starting to get into enums, I'm finally starting to see a value in that. Just starting though, Devin. So if you're watching this, sit down. So I might want to try it soon. So you don't have to do data object. I think a lot of the Java geeks out there are extending data object in these classes. So I'm going to show you how to do it without using that for now. There's some pros and cons to using the data object and the way it works with like EL and stuff like that. And I didn't used to see the pros, but now a couple pros have come up. So talk about that later, hopefully. So the key methods here, and I guess I jumped ahead, but I should have waited, is the loader. So the load, I typically pass a string in, and that string is typically like an @unique or something like that. But you can also override your load to pass a document in. So if you're doing a loop of documents or view entries, you can pass that in. And so you can create your object, or you can load your object from any of those types. So if you pass in a string, it knows how to get the right document. If you pass a document, well, it already has that, If you pass a view entry, again, it knows how to get the document. And then if you do a string, maybe you're using an @unique key, or maybe it's a unit. And there's a great method, and I don't know what it is. It's in somewhere, but there's a great method in the ODA that you can use to, if you're passing a string in, to try to determine if it is a unit. I forget what it's called, but it's in there, so you can. I think it might be under session. I forget. But you can try to determine if a string is actually a unit and make some logic decisions there. So all you do in the load method is get the document. One way or the other, your goal is to get the document, and then you pass that document into a load values method, and this is where all the fields get read into. And one of the reasons why you do this is in case you wanted to extend this later, so it's just a nicer way to hook into it. And then when you go to save, it's the reverse. So there's two methods involved in the save. The save gets the document basically, and that's kind of easy because when you do the load, you can store the unit inside the object itself, so it's pretty easy to get the document a little faster on the save than on the load. And then you send it to save values to update the document from the object. And again, I mean, this is how we do it, at the day job. So you could do it, I guess, it's a different way if you wanted, but it's worked out pretty well for us so far. So we're gonna look at this guy here, this model com.NotesIn9 model person. Okay, so this is kind of go against my fake names database in theory, and I'm putting these. So I don't have the unit in here. I should have the unit. Actually, I've not even saved from this, so maybe we'll have to update the code. So this is going to extend the base abstract objects, which we talked about for a couple shows here. So that gives me my ability to do print statements to the console. Okay, it also implements comparable, which is for sorting and using sets and stuff like that. That's beyond the scope of this right now. Okay, so I've got a valid in here as well, which is not on the document. That's just how I do that. So I hate nulls. I don't know if about you, but I don't like null pointer exceptions. So again, typically I will create the object first blank, and then it starts out life as valid as false, and then I'll call the load. And if it works, then set valid becomes true. And if it doesn't work, then it stays false. And I always test on validity rather than null and stuff like that. That's just how my mind works. So more often than not, I'm gonna pass a string in, typically of an ID of an @unique, and then we're going to do this .get document. So there's a get document method in here that this uses, and if we find it over here, so this gets the document. So I've got a hard-coded database name in here. It gets the view by ID, and then it returns the first document by key document. So, very similar to Lotus script. You'd be doing the exact same thing in Lotus script. There's just a little syntax. So again, Lotus Java is not that scary. Okay. So once I get this document, so if null equals document, so if it's null, I set the value to false and I'm done. But if it's not, then I call load values, and I have an if statement there. This returns a Boolean, though it's just hard-coded to be true right now. So I call load values. I pass this document from here. It goes to here, and now I'm populating this business. Okay, and here's a way. Again, I'm using the OpenNTF API here. It just makes kind of like working with dates a little easier and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get this date as a birthday field on there. Email, and then this additional information. Okay, and now the document is loaded. And actually, let's do this. I did not plan on this, so I should have carry the unit. Oops. Okay, and then on this load, then I'll say this unit equals doc.get universal ID. Okay, so that's easier on the save. So we'll find out what I'm doing here. So this is our get document method. Then on the save is this doc equals this doc get document. So let's just come back here and see what's going on here. And so this is hard coded for the ID. So here I should say if the unit is not blank, then use the unit because then it would be quicker, right? Does that make sense? So let's do that. If this unit unit. I should use get unit, but dot is empty. This is probably not the most robust way, but let's just run with it and pretend it is. Usually there's like helper stuff like is blank strings and string utilities and stuff like that. So if the unit is empty, so we'll get the view and we'll get the document. And let's do this up here. Document doc equals null. And then we'll say doc equals that. And then if it's not empty, then we'll say doc equals fake names dot get document by unit dot unit. So that should be a tad bit faster. And then regardless whether it's null, it will return doc. So hopefully that wasn't too distracting, that little helper. This is probably a better way to do that. So, okay, I think we were talking about the save. So public boolean save. So we get the document. If it's null, we return false. A save didn't happen. And then we're going to say this.save values doc. Okay, and then we're going to return doc.save. So if they don't have authority to save the document, that should return a false, and that will get passed back to the calling code. And then finally, in the save values, we just do the reverse of what was inside the load. And I don't see the ID. I mean, you probably should put the ID in there. I mean, ID shouldn't change, but I guess it should be there for completeness. Place item value, I think it's ID, and then this dot get. And I know I did like this dot unit up here, but you should always use getters and setters. Even inside here, trust me, it'll burn you at some point. So we should do that. And let me just make sure that ID it's number. So it's actually this dot number. So this should be number. Okay, so if the ID were to change, we will write it back to the document. Okay, and then, oh, I had it down here. Look at that. Why didn't you tell me? You don't keep that from me. Okay, so never mind. I had it right. Okay, so now this is the best part of my day. This is the best part of my day. We added this new field. Let's just do it here. Okay, and we'll do this thing here. We'll do source generate getters and setters unit. And now we have the getter unit and setter. We probably don't need a setter, so let's make this private. Okay, so make that private in here. It's never used locally, so we can come up here in the load, and let's do it this way. This dot, just to show you different. This is a better way to do it. This is doc.get universal ID. Now, I don't really have a demo for this, so the only way we will know if this actually works is when I get to the next show, when we kind of put everything together. But this is just, again, this is all this is. This is converting a document to a Java object. We're going to talk about this in the next show a little bit. This get value field. This is kind of where that data object starts to kind of creep its way into the discussion. This stuff here, this hash code and equals, I didn't write this. I did source generate hash code and equals. The compiler did that, and it's just trying to use. It's saying that the ID is a unique code, and this is stuff you need for like when you get into like sets and tree sets when you can only have one of the other. And then I've got some different ways here that can be used for sorting. We can sort by last name, we can sort by first name or ID, and I don't have a demo for that, but in theory, we could sort by last name or first name if we wanted. So again, that's really nice. You can build sorting into your object, and then you don't have to rely on views all the time for that sorting and stuff like that if you needed to sort things differently. This is a great way to do it, to convert your documents, and you will have to you have to make it serializable. And it's serializable inside here, so that means this is serializable, so you need to put this in here. And someone talked about this 1L business, or so this default. 1L is fine, just use 1L. You can make it whatever you want or so. as long as you're not trying to do what's called the mind beam and stuff like that, it really doesn't matter as far as I'm aware. That mind beam is a whole another discussion there. So that is converting a Domino document to a Java object. And this is a plain old Java object, so this is not a managed bean or anything like that. It could be, but it's not. It's just going to be something that we're going to use probably in the next show, actually. And that's the code walkthrough. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, drop me a note, and I thank you for your time.